Well, all this while we've been discussing apoptosis in human beings, so we should not be under the impression that apoptosis only occurs in the human beings or Homo sapiens. No, it also occurs in the animal kingdom. The sculpting of digits that we saw in case of human beings, it is also seen in the animal kingdom. Apart from that, during metamorphosis, apoptosis is seen. Metamorphosis, as we know, is a biological process in which an animal physically develops, an animal physically changes after birth. One of the main examples can be the metamorphosis of frog. See, conversion of tadpole into frog is the final stage of metamorphosis in frogs. Tadpole basically has a tail, whereas frogs, as we know, do not have tails. So this disappearance of tail is because of apoptosis. Apart from that, there is senescence in the plant kingdom. There is senescence of flowers and leaves. Senescence is nothing but the decaying of flowers and leaves, which is due to apoptosis. This decaying can be seen as a natural process with age of the plants, or due to any other chemical pesticides or insecticides or any other external factors. Apart from that, there is also unicellular organisms like yeast and bacteria. E. coli is the bacteria that can undergo apoptosis. When we talk about yeast, there is Saccharomyces cerevisiae that can undergo apoptosis. Moving on. Now we'll see the morphological changes of cells that undergo apoptosis. See, these cells, the normal cells, they have certain features, certain characteristics that we know. There's a certain cell membrane, there is the different cell organelles in it, and we know how it looks. But when we talk about the apoptotic cells, they undergo certain changes. We'll see that one by one. Firstly, there's overall shrinkage in the volume of cells, and also there's shrinkage in the nucleus of the apoptotic cells. Apart from that, there is loss of adhesion to neighboring cells. See, this is actually very important, but we'll be discussing it in the later slides. Why is this adhesion? Basically, the apoptotic cell, it detaches itself from the surrounding cells. It isolates itself from the surrounding cells. This is important. We'll see that later. Moving on to pycnosis. Pycnosis is condensation of nucleochromatin, which is seen in apoptotic cells. Followed by pycnosis, there is another process called karyorrhexis. Karyorrhexis is basically the fragmentation of nucleochromatin into small fragments. After that, we have formation of blebs. Blebs are nothing but projection at the cell surface. So there are projections which are formed at the cell surface. Then there is formation of near spherical membrane-bound apoptotic bodies around the cells. Here, what we need to understand, this is very important. The apoptotic cells, the cells that are undergoing or that have undergone apoptosis, they divide and they form various apoptotic bodies. What are these apoptotic bodies? Apoptotic bodies are nothing but near spherical. They are nearly spherical, membrane bound. They also have a membrane, a plasma membrane. They're bound by a plasma membrane. In fact, they also have condensed organelles in them like ribosomes, lysosomes, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, etc. So these apoptotic bodies are formed from the main the main cell that has undergone apoptosis. So they divide to form many apoptotic bodies. Now, why are these apoptotic bodies formed is again very important. That we'll understand in the next point. Eat me signals in the form of phosphatidylserine and thrombospondin in the apoptotic bodies. See, what happens is these apoptotic bodies, they have certain signals called eat me signals. Now, these eat me signals are basically used in order to signal the phagocytes. Now, first of all, eat me signal is just a general term. If you have to talk if you have to talk about the chemistry behind it, eat me signals are nothing but the phosphatidylserine and thrombospondin molecules. See, these two moieties, it is not that it is not present in a normal cell. A normal cell will also have phosphatidylserine. In fact, phosphatidylserine is a part of the plasma membrane. It's a phospholipid. It's a part of the phospholipid plasma membrane. And thrombospondin is a glycoprotein. It is present even in the normal cells. But what happens is in the normal cells, these molecules are not exposed. They are well within the cytoplasm. They are well within the cell. They are in the inner surface. But when we talk about the apoptotic bodies, which is formed as by means of the fragmentation of the apoptotic cells, what happens is these molecules, they expose themselves. So when they expose themselves, they look like signals, and these signals are eat me signals. These signals reach the phagocytes or the parenchymal cells of the neighboring parenchymal cells, and these phagocytes are able to identify the apoptotic cells, and they quickly come and eat away and clear that area. Hence, here a very important point to note is that this is the reason why there is no inflammatory reaction seen when we talk about apoptosis. See, there is one question which mainly occurs in the examinations: the difference between apoptosis and necrosis. Necrosis is also a type of irreversible cell injury. The difference between these two it's always asked, and there are many differences between apoptosis and necrosis. One of the main differences is that in necrosis there is an inflammatory reaction that occurs, but in apoptosis there is no inflammatory reaction. We do not see any signs of inflammation, like we do not see redness or swelling or warmth or pain. None of these signs of inflammation are seen in apoptosis. Why is that happening? Why is it that we do not have an inflammatory reaction here? Is that one of the reasons is that because of these eat me signals. The eat me signals signal the phagocytes. Hence the phagocytes comes and quickly performs phagocytosis and clears off the apoptotic cells. Hence the apoptotic cells, they do not convert, they are not present for a long period of time. If they were to be present for a long period of time, then there might be chances of them undergoing undergoing secondary necrosis. And we know that necrosis is followed by an inflammatory reaction. Hence, since these cells are quickly digested, so there is no room for secondary necrosis to occur. Hence, there is no inflammatory reaction seen. Apart from these, also there are other reasons why inflammation is not seen that we'll be discussing later. Moving on to pathways of apoptosis. Mainly there are two pathways: intrinsic pathway and extrinsic pathway. Both these pathways, they're controlled by a family of proteases called caspases. Now, what is this proteases? Proteases are nothing but proteolytic enzymes. What do you mean by proteolytic enzyme? The name itself suggests proteolytic. They cause the lysis or the breakdown of the proteins. So if the proteins break down, what do they break down into? They break down into these smaller, simpler structures called amino acids. So a particular family of proteases is caspases. An example of proteases is caspases. Both these pathways are, they make use of caspases basically. Caspases are normally also, it is present in the normal cell, but they're present in an inactive form called procaspases. The inactive caspases are called procaspases. Initially, in all the cells, they are inactive. The caspases are inactive. They get activated by cleavage. Cleavage is the splitting. When the procaspases are cleaved, when they are split, when they are cut, only then they become activated, and they are now called caspases, activated caspases. Based on the sequence of activation, also procaspases are again divided into, there are initiator procaspases, there are executioner procaspases. What do you mean by initiator procaspases? These are the procaspases that are activated first. Hence, they initiate apoptosis by cleaving and activating other procaspases. See, we know that procaspases in general are inactive. So, the procaspases that are activated first is called the initiator procaspases. So, what do? They just initiate. They only start apoptosis. How do they start apoptosis? By cleaving the other procaspases. So, they cleave and they activate the other procaspases. Examples of initiator procaspase can be caspases 2, 8, 9, 10, etc. Executioner procaspases are the downstream procaspases which are activated by the initiator procaspases. So, these are activated later. The first procaspases that are activated, they are initiator. The ones that are activated later are executioner. These executioner procaspases, they then perform two functions. See, once the executioner procaspases are activated by the initiator procaspases, there are two things that they do. One is they go and help their friends, which means they go and cleave and activate the other executioner procaspases. That is one thing. The other main thing, the most important thing, is that they go and they target or they cleave the specific target proteins in the cells. Only when these specific target proteins in the cells are cleaved, only then the process of apoptosis occurs. Okay, example of executioner procaspases are caspases 3, 6, 7, etc. There are many classes, there are many examples, many families of caspases which are named as, from 1 to 15. Caspase 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So as you can see here, the other names are given, the synonyms of these caspases are given here, along with the functions. For example, caspase 1. What is the function of caspase 1 in apoptosis? It basically causes cleavage of interleukins, pro-interleukins. Pro-interleukins is again involved in the inflammatory reaction. So if the caspase 1 is going and cleaving the pro-interleukins, that means it is cleaving the molecule which would otherwise bring about inflammation. So if that molecule itself is cleaved, then inflammatory reaction does not occur. So this is another reason why inflammation does not occur in apoptosis. There are many other reasons. So caspase 1, it causes cleavage of pro-interleukin. So pro-interleukin is the target of caspase 1. Also, caspase 1 is involved in death receptor mediated apoptosis. Death receptor mediated apoptosis is nothing but the extrinsic pathway of apoptosis. We've seen the intrinsic and extrinsic pathway. The extrinsic pathway is also called the death receptor pathway. So in the death receptor pathway, we see the use of caspase 1. Similarly, there are other caspases and their roles, their functions in apoptosis. Some are initiators, which means some act as initiator procaspase. Some are effectors. Effectors here are nothing but the executioner procaspases. So as you can see, there's caspase 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's also 14, 15 also, but their function is not much known. It is not much studied. Alright, now we'll discuss the target proteins of caspases. Once the procaspases are activated, because we know that the procaspases are inactive. Once they're activated by cleavage, we'll see what are the target proteins. Which are the proteins in the cells that they're going to target in order to bring about apoptosis. The most important thing is an endonuclease called caspase activated DNase, that is CAD, which is activated following caspase cleavage of an inhibitory proteins. Here what we need to understand is that DNase is an enzyme, it's an endonuclease basically that cleaves the DNA from the middle. That's why it's called an endonuclease. It is the opposite of exonucleases. Exonucleases, what do? They cleave from the edges or from the sides. Endonuclease cleaves from somewhere from the middle. So this DNase, or if you have to expand it, the caspase activated DNase is basically an endonuclease that causes cleavage of DNA. Now during the normal conditions, what happens is this DNA should be inactive, otherwise it will go and cleave our DNA. So in order to control this DNase, there is an inhibitory protein. Now what happens is that our caspases that have been activated, they go and they cleave this inhibitory proteins. Now if the inhibitory proteins are cleaved, then the DNase is no more inhibited, they are activated, and then they go and bring about cleavage of DNA. Once activated, CAD translocates from the cytoplasm to the nucleus. They move from the cytoplasm to the nucleus and they attack our DNA. That's the major target of the caspases. Apart from that, it also targets almost a dozen protein kinases like the FAK, PKB, PKC. PKB, PKC stands for protein kinase B, protein kinase C. They also have a role in cell survival. They promote cell survival. So if our caspases cleaves PKB, PKC, it means the cell survival is reduced. So the cells move towards cell death, that is apoptosis. Talking about FAK stands for focal adhesion kinase. Our caspases, they also cleave the FAK, focal adhesion kinase. What happens if FAK is cleaved? This will cause, this disrupts the cell adhesion, leading to detachment of apoptotic cells from its neighbors. We have already seen it in the previous slide during the morphological study of the apoptotic cells that our apoptotic cell, it detaches itself from the neighboring cells. This is very much required because we want that particular infected cell, or if that particular cell has undergone DNA damage, only that particular cell should undergo apoptosis. It should not harm, or the apoptosis should not occur in all the other normal cells in the surroundings. That is why the detachment is very important. Also, here we see that since the focal adhesion kinase is cleaved by our caspases, hence there's detachment. Hence there is detachment, because FAK, what is the role? What is the function of FAK? FAK's function is to cause adhesion. FAK's function is to bring about adhesion of these cells in their tissues. Now if the FAK itself is cleaved by our caspases, then there is detachment. Moving on to lamins. Lamins make up the inner lining of the nuclear membrane. See, there is in our cell we have a nucleus. Nucleus has a nuclear membrane. The membrane next to the nuclear membrane, or let's say the membrane inside the nuclear membrane, is the lamina. Lamina is basically made up of proteins called lamins. Now our caspases, they also go and cleave the lamins. What happens if the lamins are cleaved? If the lamins are cleaved, there'll be disassembly of the nuclear lamina, and there'll be shrinkage of nucleus that we saw in the morphological studies. Apart from this, there are many other target proteins, like the various proteins required to maintain the cell structure, the intermediate filaments or the actin filaments, etc. All these are cleaved, due to which the cell structure also is lost, the cell shape is lost. Also, the enzymes involved in the DNA repair are also cleaved. Hence, the DNA, if at all there's a DNA damage, the DNA cannot be repaired, because the enzymes which is required for DNA repair are all cleaved by our caspases.